Hi, happy Monday. Welcome to the 6th edition of my Izannah Walker 2019 birthday celebration. We've got today and tomorrow left to go, and today what I wanted to do is give you a little bit of an overview about how the Izannah Walker dolls were made. I'm going to give you a few new interesting tidbits, and then part of it is going to be a little bit of the same information that was in my Antique Doll Collector article for September 2017. Now, that issue sold out almost immediately, and it really hasn't been available, but good news is that Antique Doll Collector now has digital copies available. And so you could get a digital copy of either my September 2017 article or also my March 2018 article, which is an overview of the exhibit that I curated for the Journeyland Doll Club doll show in October of 2017. So this one is about Izannah Walker and her dolls, and this one is about the exhibit. And either of them are available digitally, I'm pretty sure. So you can just contact Antique Doll Collector for those. But what I'm going to do today is talk a little bit about how the dolls are made and a little bit about their differences and stuff. And then at the end of the video, posted after that on my blog, will be the text from this article. It won't have all of the photos in it because some of the photos are not mine, and when I asked the people that loaned them to me for permission to use their photographs, I specifically asked for permission for this one article in Antique Doll Collector. And you know, you guys have really, we've got to recognize everybody's copyrights and be particularly polite and understanding about not infringing on someone else's copyrights. And the same goes for this article. I'm posting it for your own use, and you know, I hope you enjoy reading it, but please don't reproduce it or reprint it anywhere without permission. Thank you. I'd appreciate that. So here we go with a little bit about the anatomy of an Izannah Walker doll. One of the things that isn't in the article, but I thought would be kind of interesting to talk about today, is how many pieces actually go into making up an Izannah Walker doll. And I had to sit down and really truly count them. I sort of just do it automatically when I cut out the dolls and make them. I mean, they have a lot of pieces, and you know, I don't really think too much about exactly how many it is. But I sat down and I counted it out. And while the dolls do have a few differences, and the patterns changed a little bit over time, they basically stayed the same. So for any of the dolls with painted boots, they have 24 pieces of individually cut and stitched together fabric in each body, plus the ears, which were applied separately, and those would be separate pieces of fabric for each ear. And then there are more layers of fabric inside of each head that get layered in the molds. And can you see that? There's layers of fabric underneath, and I didn't count those. I really only counted this top layer of stockinette. I didn't count all of the underneath layers. So what we're talking about is the outer layers here. So in reality, there would be, you know, more than 24 pieces, but we're talking about the pieces that get cut out and stitched together and seamed and everything. And then in the barefoot dolls, or Tilly Lamb, because Tilly Lamb's feet are made a little bit different than the painted boots on really most of the other dolls. Now, the bare feet were made two different ways. So you're going to have either 22 or 23 pieces of fabric in a barefoot doll. Now, let's just stop and look at this for a minute. Well, actually, now that I'm thinking about this, I think it's going to be, you know, that's really not right because I didn't count for each foot. So it would be either 22. No, it's got to be even numbers. Okay, so it would be 22 or 24 pieces on the feet. Normally, I go ahead and usually make the 24 piece barefoot, but there is two methods of making them, and I actually have examples of two different bare feet for you. This is Eliza Jane's foot, and her foot would make her body piece count be 24. Now, this is Ismay, and these feet are made in a different manner. She does not have the toes stitched in, but they would have been there. That stitching has just popped and worn through. So while you can't really see all of her little toes, that's just because of where they would have been there. But the way her feet are put together, there would have been 22 pieces of fabric in the doll. So the foot has one less piece of fabric for each foot. And as I say, I usually do the 24 piece method, the barefoot that has the extra piece of fabric in it, because honestly I just like it better. So, you know, since there's a choice, I usually do the 24 piece. So there are a lot of pieces in each of these dolls, and they are incredibly well made, which you have to figure because the dolls have survived countless generations of children playing with them, and they're very well constructed, and it's quite ingenious. It was it's one of the things that I love about Izannah's dolls, and one of the things that draws me to them. It's just really awe-inspiring. I know they're beautiful to look at, and they're amazing in so many ways, but really her construction methods, just the actual physical way the pattern pieces are cut out and stitched together, is, I think, kind of an unappreciated little bit about the dolls. So that tells you a little bit about what actually goes into making them. Now, I did not count the ears. The ears are a separate piece. The reason I don't count the ears is when I make a reproduction of an Izannah Walker doll, I think the ears are like a super important part. And while they are all similar, they do have some differences, and I think those differences give the doll a certain personality, and where the ears are stitched on the head, and how big each one is, and if one side's lopsided and the one ear is bigger than the other or not. I like that, and I want to reproduce that for you guys. So when I make my molds, I include the ears in the mold. Now, Izannah's pre-patent dolls did not have ears included. The post-patent dolls do have ears in the mold, but these pre-patent dolls didn't. So that is the one difference. And I would show you Miss Eliza Jane's ears, except somebody ripped them off. Poor baby. I know, it's terrible, isn't it? I always sort of imagine a little brother got hold of her and was quite mean to her and tore the ears off. That might not be accurate, but it seems like something a little brother would do. So now I think I'd like to talk a little bit about the age of the dolls. to really go in depth about how I sort of divide the dolls into different time periods, you're going to want to read the text of the article. I have about, oh shoot, I guess it's 3 pre-patent and then a post-patent time period thing. And we are really only talking about the pre-patent dolls today, because that's what I reproduce and that's what I study, and that's what I have to show you here. I don't have any post-patent dolls. So of the dolls I've got sitting here, I believe that Eliza Jane is probably the oldest. If you, well, I'm actually pretty darn certain that she's the oldest. If you look at the shape of her face, it's different. It's a kind of a more square face than from the later dolls. And the eyes do not have as much curvature in the mold. They are a much flatter type of eye. They have a little bit of curvature, but not as much as these other dolls do. And while she is really just, you know, pretty much the same size as the other dolls, she and Isme are, let me get them really close side by side. Actually, Isme is slightly taller, but she doesn't look like it because Eliza Jane's head is bigger and she's thicker. She's bigger around the middle, and she has much longer arms. Do you see how long these arms are? They're quite long, and they have kind of big hands compared to the other dolls. They also are very, very interesting hands. There is painted cloth hands underneath here, but somebody did this super cool, interesting thing. One of the characteristics of a lot of Izannah Walker dolls is the painted cloth will crack at both the wrists and the ankles. Isabel has little repairs there, but both of her ankles are cracked, and that's a super common thing that just happens. It's just one of the places they wear. So on Eliza Jane, now I can feel the break under there. I know right where it is. But someone loved her enough to go to the trouble to cut all these individual pieces of fabric and, for all intents and purposes, slip cover her hands. And there's all this seaming and all this stitching. And really, that would have taken a long time to do. But this doll was important enough to someone that they wanted to repair it for their child, and you know, went to a lot of work to keep her beautiful looking and you know, have her be able to be played with for a long time. And so that's something wonderful, and you'll find that on a lot of the dolls. They've had things done to them throughout the years, because if your child has a toy, you want to do something, you know, you want to give them a fresh, clean, beautiful toy to play with. So things have happened. Like Isabel has had, you know, overpaint, not on her eyes, but on all of her flesh tone parts, and that's why she has so much peeling. Sometimes, like the original paint will crackle and peel also, but in Isabel's case, a lot of this peeling is because somebody has painted another layer of flesh tone paint over the top. No doubt, you know, to make her look cleaner and prettier, and also, you know, maybe there was a little stockinette showing through or something, and they felt at the time that clean coat of paint was going to be the cool thing to do. And now, obviously, we all wish that they had left it alone, but these were children's toys, and stuff like this just happens. Whoops, there we go. I guess the fan sort of knocked something down. Just ignore that noise. It's a hot day out here in the studio, and I do have the fans going, and clearly something just kind of got overset. So we're going to carry on. But I believe as I was saying, that Eliza Jane is the oldest doll. Next to Eliza Jane, we have Prudence. Prudence has some super interesting characteristics I'd like to talk about. The thing about Prudence is, well, not only is she beautiful and amazing, but if you look at the stockinette on the back of her head, this is a coarser weave stockinette than the stockinette on the front of the head. And now Eliza Jane does not have that. All of her stockinette is the same weave. But, and I will post a picture of this with the article, one of the other dolls that I reproduce, I just call early Izannah because the woman who owns her doesn't name her dolls, and so I don't feel right just assigning a name, and so I just call her early Izannah. She's a 22.5-inch tall doll, and she's bigger than Eliza Jane here, and Eliza Jane is about 18 inches, okay? So she's bigger than Eliza Jane. She would be more the size of this reproduction of Charles C. that's sitting here. Charles C's in the pink dress. She would be more that size, but she looks larger because she has a much bigger square head like Eliza Jane's. And on the back of her head, on the back of that 22.5-inch tall doll, there is also this coarser weave of stockinette. Now, I can think of a couple of reasons that might be why Izannah wanted to use that, and again, totally guesses on my part. That coarser weave stockinette stretches more. It gives a lot more, and obviously all the stockinette's going to stretch, but that bigger weave stretches a lot more. So that might have been a lot easier to use on the back of the head. The other thing I have thought of is that I think it probably would have been less expensive, and so maybe it was a cost-saving measure, although you don't use very much of it, so I feel that might be less likely as a reason. It's not like she needed too much of it for the back of the heads. So I'm inclined to think that probably it was used because it had more stretch and more give. Later dolls, like Isabel or Ismay, or any of the others in my collection, they don't have that. The stockinette's all the same, no matter, here, can I get close to, yeah, that underneath layer you can see the woven cotton, but the top layer is the stockinette, and it's all the same weave, front and back. It's the same stockinette for the back of the head and for the face. So that's an interesting little detail that you'll see on some of what I think are the earlier dolls. Now, clearly it's not super cut and dried, because Prudence looks a lot more like Isabeau and Ismay than she does like Eliza Jane. And Prudence has the bigger weave stockinette on the back of her head. So that's kind of just one of those sort of little tiny itty bitty Izannah mysteries. It would be super cool to know why she did that, but I doubt we're going to ever really know that. I mean, even if you were a fanatic diarist, and nobody yet has been able to find a diary from Izannah, even if you were just religious about keeping a diary, I don't really think that that's the kind of thing that you would jot down in your diary, because it would just be too mundane. I think you would probably put other things. So it's just a fun little bit of information for you to know about some of the dolls. But I do think that the dolls with the larger weave of stockinette definitely are on the earlier end of her working career. And then the other thing that you'll notice when the dolls transition from Eliza Jane's style to this more rounded style, I've noticed that a lot of those somewhat earlier dolls have very narrow necks. It's beautiful. It's charming. I really like it, but it's just stylistically, those dolls have very small necks, and I've seen this in multiple sizes of dolls. The little doll that the Wenham Museum owns is a smaller doll. She's about 13 and a half inches, something like that. She has the very narrow neck. Now, Isabel has a narrow neck, but it's not quite as narrow as Ismay's. So that's something to notice. And it's not as narrow as Prudence's. It's more narrow than Prudence's. Prudence's neck is more the size of Isabel's. Her dress is in the way, but her neck is not the super thin neck that's on Ismay. So all these are kind of like fun little things to notice about the dolls. And while I'm talking about differences, clearly there were a lot of molds. And I do go into that in the article in this issue of Antique Doll Collector. But you do have some differences simply because of the fact that they are pressed cloth. And pressed cloth is a very soft material. It doesn't come out of the mold the same way that either paper mache or china heads would. It's not hard like that. It doesn't hold its shape. And then of course the dolls have to be stuffed. So you're going to get some differences that way. Wow. Well, I hope that this has given you a nice little overview of some information about the Izannah's bodies. I would do more, but I see that my battery is about to die and go out because I've been filming this over and over. So I'm just going to close by saying thank you so much for joining us here on my Izannah Walker Journal for our 7-part celebration of Izannah's 202nd birthday. I hope you enjoy reading the text of this article, and if you guys have any questions, you can certainly comment and I'll try to answer them for you. Or if you want to email me with questions about a specific doll or something, that would be great too. So I hope you've had fun today learning a few Izannah facts, and thank you for stopping by, and please come back tomorrow for our last installment of my 2019 Izannah Walker birthday celebration. Thanks guys. Bye.